Filtering and cleaning data are powerful moves for simplifying and exploring a dataset. In this example, a group of physics students used a motion sensor to collect position and time data from a moving ball. We've also calculated the velocity based on position and time. Here we have set up two graphs, one that represents position time and one that represents velocity time. The goal will be to filter and clean the position time graph. We'll leave the velocity time graph open while we work for comparison. When first looking at the position time graph, your students will likely only see a bunch of orange dots. They may not understand which parts of the data are useful. In this case, students need to understand the graph well enough to zero in on the slope of the diagonal line, the constant velocity, where the ball is rolling away from the sensor. Before trying to analyze any one ball roll, we can organize the position time data by run. To start, add a legend by dragging the run attribute to the center of the graph. The points are now colored by the experimental run. If you click on one of the boxes at the bottom of the graph, you can select one run at a time. To view only one run at a time, you can turn on parent toggles. Click on the eyeball icon in the graph menu, then Show Parent Visibility Toggles. This produces a list of whatever is in the leftmost column of the table, in this case, run. If you'd like to see just one experimental run, click Hide All to deselect everything, then choose just one run. In science practice, all data is typically kept even if it is not used. In rare cases, such as the fourth run where the data was collected by mistake, you may wish to permanently delete the data. To do so, select the data and click on the trash icon in the table menu. Select Delete Selected Cases. As you can see, the fourth run was removed from the table, as well as the two graphs. Deleting data from CODAP cannot be undone. Before temporarily removing or hiding additional data, make sure to discuss why some points might need to be removed. In this example, you could begin by asking students what's happening at the start of the run. The sensor is working, but not picking up useful information. In the middle part, the sensor is picking up a ball as it rolls away from a motion sensor. There is clearly also noise. The final horizontal-looking line could be the sensor picking up unnecessary data after the ball has finished its run. After discussing and identifying the parts of the graph you want to keep for analysis, click and drag with your mouse to draw a box around the remaining points. Using the Shift key, it is possible to select a few areas at once. To hide the information that you do not need to analyze or see in any graph, you can set aside some of the data in the CODAP table. Unlike delete, data that is set aside can be restored later. Also, data that is set aside will not appear in any graph as you are hiding information in the root data table. To use set aside, select the cases you would like to exclude. Click on the blue area of the table menu header, then the eyeball icon. Choose Set Aside Selected Cases. Now we can see the diagonal line in the graph that will help us calculate the constant velocity. We can rescale the graph so that we can get a better picture of what is going on. Click on the icon next to the graph window with 4 arrows. This will rescale the graph automatically. The earlier data in this instance seems to have some noise and variation that doesn't happen later. You might want to hide this data in the current graph to make it easier to focus on the cleaner data. To temporarily hide data in just this one graph, select multiple points at once by dragging a rectangle or selecting individual points by holding down the Shift key and selecting these. In the graph menu, click Hide Selected Cases. Again, this hides the outliers only in the graph view. Unlike set aside, it does not remove these data points from the other graphs or the table. To unhide cases from the graph, click on the eyeball menu again. Select Show All Cases. If at any point you want or need to restore cases that have been set aside in the data table, click on the eyeball menu in the CODAP table. Select Restore Cases.